Have you ever wondered how you can shapeshift? Well, I'm going to talk about how I shapeshift and how you can also do this. It is something that is very controversial and also a subject of much discussion. But how do Seder practitioners and many other types of practitioners shapeshift? Well, if you carry on watching, you will find out how I go about it, and maybe it will help you to be able to use it in your practice. Shapeshifting is not just about physical change. It's also about a mental change. We have the hammer, which is the shape and the physical look and the appearance, but it's also associated with the actual pelt or the skin of the creature. We have a good example of this with the berserkers, where they would take the skin of the beast and wear it and become it. But that is not the sort of shape-shifting I want to talk about today. The hugr, which is personality and presence, is necessary. You will need the thought and the personality. So we have to put those things together to make this happen properly. You cannot have people with the pelts of animals and just let him rip and going wild. That is not what proper shape-shifting is about. Shape-shifting will come in many different ways, in many different guises, and it can be as simple as thought. It can be as simple as just watching something that you are prepared to almost mimic. And I say mimic because this is something that in magic we do a lot of without realising. Now, as a Seder practitioner, it is something that I do. Now, I am not telling you that I physically manifest a shape and fly off, okay? But you can physically and mentally do this in your astral travels. You can do this when you send forth part of you, which is something a lot of people don't realise they can do. You don't have to always be you when you are going forwards in your travels. So for example, maybe you want to go and watch something that's going on. Well, who better to use than a hawk? So what do? Well, the first step is to get yourself in the right frame of mind, to bring forth that spirit of that creature into your mind's eye and allow it to manifest within you. Bit like allowing yourself to become something that you are not. Hammer is like a garment that you can put on and take off. It's a personality trait which you wear for a small amount of time. Something like dressing up when you're doing acting. So you would take the costume and wear it and put the makeup on to be it. And with that comes the change in you, because you are taking on a part of something that you're not. So acting is a form of shape-shifting. Hugr is the thing that makes it complete. It's the icing on the cake. It is the thought and the personality behind it. It is how you endeavour to carry it forth. If you don't have that, you don't have it at all, because you need that to give it substance. The Verlandak Vida in the Poetic Edda talks about this. Something that you can read on, guys. They are in fact supernatural beings that look like women wearing swan pelts, but they then turn into actual swans and fly So you see, what we perceive with our eyes can mislead us, because we can see things, for example, supernatural beings looking like women for a start. They can shapeshift into many forms, but these particular supernatural beings take the form of the swan. Now the swan has a big meaning when it comes to the Valkyries. When I was training in mediumship, of all things, a form of this would be transforming your physical being to transmute into the spirit that's taking you over to talk to people. It's a similar thing, and I used to be able to do this without, at the beginning, not knowing that's what was happening. I remember one of the very first times it happened to me. I was sitting on a chair in a person's home, and we was all in a type of circle where we was contacting spirit, and I suddenly felt very sleepy. And I don't remember nodding off, but I remember people going, oh my God, and waking me up. Apparently they looked at me and I started to shrink in the seat, and my face started to take on that of a very elderly lady. It lasted a few seconds, because once I was aware, obviously, it then jumped out of me and I became like I should be, as I am. That brought me into an awareness of anything is possible, especially in magic, guys. You have the ability to perceive and use and walk forwards in things that people do not understand and do not really want to understand. Because if that is true, if these things can happen, then that throws everything that they know and feel secure in. And a lot of people, even those that are practicing magic, are frightened of. They don't want to be faced with the possibility of the supernatural, the unknown. Now, to my mind, it's all normal. So in this video today, I'm going to show you a way that you can connect, but I also want to talk to you about some of the ways that you can shapeshift. Now, I just spoke about an experience I had where I physically changed. It doesn't work like that all the time. Not everybody finds the way to do it. I do believe that everyone has that ability, but not easy to do. Different forms of this can happen to you. If it's something in your heart, for example, somebody who loves to watch birds or animals, and you would go into nature, and first of all you would feel those vibes of nature itself. You will feel like you are becoming part of nature. You will sit quietly where you can't be noticed by the birds or the animals, and just watching them. When you're watching these animals, you're looking at how they live, how they do things. And without realizing it, you're taking that on board your mind and you're retaining that knowledge. So when you look at the birds again, you remember, oh, they're the ones that do such and such. These things that are retained in your mind can be used to shapeshift mentally. So you start to watch how they do things, yeah? But after a while, you can take those images and think that you are that animal and you are doing those things. People call that daydreaming or being out of sync with daily life. It's an imagination. It's great. Yes. It's not daydreaming, it's you using a facility in your mind, which is a great imagination and something that you need if you're going to use it in magic or in shapeshifting. You need that imagination to seek the impossible. And once you've seeked that impossible, you make it possible, because you're agreeing that it can happen. So you might say, well, what is the worth of it? The worth of it, my dears, is you see the world in a different way. You see how the animals have so much to teach us. You can shapeshift into any animal, anything you want. It could be a leaf, it could be a tree, it could be a person, it could be an animal. The choice is yours. When I was first starting, I would try, first of all, I remember one of the very first things was a daffodil. Now, you might add, what is the worth of becoming a daffodil? Believe me, it shows you life from that plant, their vocation, their way of living, what life is like for them. Because, as I said in the beginning, you've got the hammer and the hugger. Now, you have to have the two together to make it feasible. Without one, you can't have the other, or it's not worth it. So, look at a daffodil. Draw it. Become it. Mentally. See what happens on a whole day. Does it move? Is it happy? Can you sense its feelings? When you start to feel as that plant feels or that flower feels, you then imagine yourself becoming that flower. Now, I'm going to show you how you can turn yourself into something in your mind. Mind is a very powerful thing. Thought made word made deed is something, as I've said in many of my videos, what you think can become. It is done. So only you can disbelieve. If you're alone in your room and you want to try to become something, nobody is going to be watching you. So it's a bit like that quote, if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a noise? Yes, well, nobody knows, because nobody is there watching it or listening to it. And it's the same thing with your journeys. Nobody is watching it. It's just you partaking in it. And how do you know unless you film yourself? Which I believe then it takes away something from it. It's like a prying eye. If you're doing something privately in your room or out in nature, allow it to be private. Allow that moment to manifest in you, in your soul, in your mind and your presence. The beauty of magic and beauty of the power of the mind. You can turn yourself into anything you want. And get some form of acknowledgement that that is what's happened. Set yourself little steps. So, for example, you want to be a blackbird. You see this blackbird. You're sitting there watching this blackbird. So you get that longing within that you want to be with that blackbird. Not that blackbird, but a blackbird. You start to watch it, look at its feathers, look at how it moves, look at what it's doing. And then imagine yourself sitting next to it as a bird, sitting there as a blackbird, and copy it. In your mind's eye, you're copying it. So as it walks, you walk. As it flies, you fly. When it flies, feel the air on your wings. Feel the intent of what's happening. The more you do this, guys, the more you can become like it. The trouble is, if you do it and you get so involved, it's very difficult to want to come back. Because it's like a freedom. Now this is a form of shape-shifting. You are using your mind as well as your physical body, but you're doing it in a spiritual way. It's not like turning yourself into a bird, but it's the next best thing. A lot of Seder practitioners use shape-shifting, but not physically, spiritually. And they do it for a reason. In the old days, they might have wanted to become a bird to go into the next village to find out what's going on so that they could be prepared in their village. So they would send the bird, but become the bird and go there and see what's going on and bring it back. So shape-shifting had good reasons behind it, and it's very powerful. You can shape-shift into something to protect yourself. It's very much like the philia. It's very much like that, but it's not the philia. That's a different aspect. You are becoming what you want yourself to become. And there are many ways you can even fool somebody in shape-shifting, because sometimes people have sworn to see that the practitioner has changed physically. But of course you are so intent on it that you don't even realise that's what's happened. So you have to put a big exclamation mark or question mark over this. There have been people that have said they've seen this happen. You're alone when you're doing it. Nobody can tell you one way or the other, and only you would know. Freya, she flies, uses feathers. If the gods can do it and they made us like them, how much more can we do it? So, I'm not going to waffle on, guys, but I wanted to talk to you really just to explain what shape-shifting could actually be for you. And I would say it is a spiritual practice that aids you to move in ways that you wouldn't normally do, and to help you in your practice. You can become the herb that you want to use. Find out how it feels, find out its properties, find out how it lives, find out its community. You will know it so much better, then you can use it more. Silly things that people would say, oh, that's ridiculous. It's not so ridiculous. Not if you take things seriously. So you can do it to anything. You can do it to a piece of furniture. You can become, because furniture is made out of wood, and wood comes from trees, and trees are living beings. Become a tree for a few hours. See what that feels like. You will be filled with so much more understanding of nature and your practice, and it's something that is available to anybody that wants to do it. So get yourself comfortable, go and sit down, make sure you're wearing something loose. We do the breathing exercise. I'm going to use my drum. Just use my drum to bring in the vibes, okay, and to calm you down. So just one beat. So if you'd like to take your seats or lay down, whatever makes you feel better. Sometimes it's a good idea to put a picture in front of you, one that shows the thing that you want to transform yourself into. So if it's an animal, so be it. If it's a person, so be it. Whatever helps you to focus. Take some deep breaths in through the nose, hold, and out through the mouth. Just focus on the drum beat. Now this is a very easy way of doing something like this. This is a good way to be able to shift. It takes a lot of time sometimes for some people, because they have to learn to be able to let go. It's like out of body experience. You have to be able to let go. So focus on the drum beat. Feel it becoming in time with your heart. And as it merges together, look at the picture in front of you. That's cool. Now look at that picture. Visualize yourself standing up from the chair. You are not standing up. Your spirit is standing up. And as you push yourself up, you notice that you are free. You're not restricted. You start to walk towards the picture, and you notice a feeling comes upon you. This particular picture is an animal. It's a bear, a big brown bear. Now I'm going to put the drum down. I think you should be ready now. So you walk in towards the bear. Each step you take, you start to feel the energy of what a bear is like. So look down at your hands and remember what the hands of a bear looks like. And now look down and see a bear's hand, which would have been yours, but is now like a bear. You move it around and notice there's a difference, that you can't bend it like you can with your fingers. Now, you know that that has changed. So you then start to look at yourself and you notice your feet have changed and your legs have changed, and you feel like you're growing in strength and size, and you can feel the heaviness of the fur, and your eyes start to feel different, and you look around and notice you can see a lot further than you would normally. Now at this point you feel a little bit scared because you don't understand that this is possible, but don't stop yourself from feeling this, guys. As you walk towards the bear, you become the bear, and you start to understand how a bear thinks, what it wants to do. And so you start to run. Now your imagination can take over here, guys. What does a bear do? Where does it live? You have become the bear. Start to live as a bear. Start to see things in the woods. What would you be wanting to do? You would want to make your home. You would want to find a mate. You would want to find food and water. They would be the main things on your mind. What would you get from this? How would you get from this? Well, this is an example of what you can physically do, but in a spiritual way. This is an exercise that you can do and come back from until you feel that you can shift into whatever it is you want. You have become the bear. The bear is you. And so you can do what you want with it. So after a little while of being the bear, You need to come back, because to start with, it's going to take it out of you. So you retrace your steps. You start to imagine your feet appearing, and then your hands, and then the heaviness and the weight and the size will start to shrink, and you will find yourself back in your chair. And that is how it is to change your appearance when you're just learning. The more you do this, the more it will become easy for you. The more you'll be able to shift into whatever it is you want to shift into. And believe me, this is a magical experience. This is fact. It's happening to you. You might be using your imagination, guys. You might be using that. But that is magic. At the end of the day, anything is possible, and everything is possible. Don't let anyone tell you different. Yes, wouldn't it be great if we could just suddenly turn into a physical bird or bear or tiger, whatever it is we want. But you can use it in so many ways. When you're feeling uneasy, turn yourself mentally into a bear. You will feel stronger and able to cope. So there are so many uses for shapeshifting. And you can also shapeshift into people's dreams, but that's another subject for another time. So I hope this has helped you a little bit to understand how Seder practitioners and others can actually shapeshift. Thank you to my new subscribers. Thank you to all those that are always here. Really do appreciate it. And hope you have a wonderful week. So wherever you are, whatever time of day, night or evening it may be, I wish you the best ever. House of Elaine.